All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I'm Tom. I'm once again Georgeless. He was supposed to be here, but it looks like he's not going to make it. We'll see. We'll see if he shows up in the next few minutes, but I'm not sure. So here to go. Uh-oh. Let me just check my phone. See if that's George. Nope. All right, we're going without him. So we had a green day, but I'm getting a little bit nervous. Hey, JJT. Hey, Ming. Hey, Miguel. Billy. Welcome, everybody. Miguel says, Green Week feels good. Congratulations on 10K subscribers. Oh, thank you very much. Yes, I had to do that twice because for some reason they deducted some in the middle. So we got back there. Hopefully next week goods too. Biz, what's up? What's up? I'm getting a little I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, but I'm getting a little nervous. I've been saying we got until next Wednesday, in my opinion, until that CPI data comes out. But yesterday and today, I did not love what I saw. I love the price action on the Bitcoin miners. That has been strong, super strong. I just don't love what I'm seeing in Bitcoin right now. So could go either way. I haven't flipped negative. I'm a lot more neutral today. 2 weeks ago, I was extremely confident we were headed up. And as of like 2 days ago, I'm less confident. How about you guys? What are you guys thinking? Ed says, hey, Tom, thanks for everything. You're welcome. JGT, why are you nervous? Malik, good afternoon. Eric Brown, thanks. Hey, how are you? Sideways movement. Is George going to make an appearance? He was supposed to. JD is asking that. He was supposed to be here for the whole stream. At the moment, he's missing in action, but I will tell you, he spent the last several weeks out on job sites, so sometimes the day does not go his way, and he just ends up not being here, but he may be a late arrival. Billy Lyons says, I'm bearish. Yeah, I'm not going to say I'm bearish yet, but I will walk through my line of reasoning. I'm a little bit nervous, only in the very short term. I think, you know, obviously you guys know I'm long-term very bullish on Bitcoin. The miners have had an unbelievable rally. In my mind, I thought we had until next Wednesday, and that may still hold true. But we're a little shakier than I thought we would be right now. But having said that, it is a Friday, and instead of getting a Friday sell-off, we actually had momentum going into the close on a Friday. So that part is very good. That's a good sign. I think we're going to have a green candle today when the day is over. And if I just switch, I mean, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 red candles in a row. It doesn't feel like a big deal because basically this one green candle, you know, was the same. If you take the wicks, accounts for all 7 of these. So, you know, we haven't moved that much, but we have been eking downward. But like I said, I mean, today looks green unless something real bad happens in the next few hours. And this is what I said in my video yesterday, and then it did drop. So when I made my daily update video, this was green, and it ended up a bunch red. So the day's not over. So we'll see what happens. But it looks like we're going to have a green candle today, so that will be good news. This red list is my electric vehicle related stocks. So you can see they did not have a good day. Really, if we look at the market, well, mixed bag. I mean, the NASDAQ was down 0.5%. And for, you know, Bitcoin miner holders, that's usually, and Bitcoin, that's usually the correlation right there. Although it has been less and less. There have been days where they've had nothing to do with each other lately. And I think we're going to see more of that. Russell was up a little. Dow was up a little. S&P was almost even on the day. So it was not a big day. And Bitcoin was up today. I mean, this orange line is where Bitcoin was when the equity markets closed yesterday. So that was at 22,453. And, you know, we're $500 above that right now. Eric is saying, I made 5K today. 5X AMC. Wow. And LABU. Nice. Cleanspark is stuck. We had a little bit of action. Said that's from Biz 101. We did have a little bit of action today on Cleanspark. It has been incredibly stuck, but you know, at least it was at 399 the other day. I mean, that's ridiculous. Malik says I lost 2,000 today chasing IONM. Billy said time to buy more soon for the long term. JJT depends on what time frame you look. I'm not nervous for the next 6 months, just the next 6 to 8 weeks. So, yeah, I mean, it's funny. The time, I'll just walk you through what I'm looking at. And it's like, it depends on whether you're looking at a day, a week, a month, and where there's a lot of mixed signals. So, the first thing, let me go to my 4 hour because that's the one. The 4 hour chart is what I have been using for the last 2 months, and it has been extremely helpful. And I think that the pattern that it had going, I feel like it's broken. So where's my lines? So you can see, I mean, this is obvious. This was just you can see up, 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 up. This has been clockwork, and this is since June 18th. So that's, you know, not quite a month and a half, or yeah, that's about a month and a half. So that was a real strong pattern for a month and a half. But when you look on the RSI, this is what is starting to make me nervous. These three arrows are these two arrows are a clone of this arrow. So they're an exact duplicate. So that run up that we had this a month ago, let me get so we can see the whole thing. I literally copied this arrow, put it over here, and then we got the identical run up, and then we reset all the way back down to oversold. This is the 4 hour RSI. We reset all the way back to oversold, and then this is another copy of the identical arrow. We had the same exact run up. So you can see we were setting a higher high each time. And even this last time we set a higher high. However, if I duplicate this arrow, and I go from the low, this is not, so something different happened this time. I mean, you can see, look, this goes right, the RSI just follows this exactly. Once, twice, 3 times. This time, we just zipped up to a new high. And now, we're doing this sideways thing. Over 50, under 50, over 50, under 50. So, I mean, that is still all very neutral, and it could go either way, but we're off of, I mean, this felt like money in the bank to me. This was just boom, 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 boom. Now, all of a sudden, you know, I'm going to get rid of this one because this arrow did not follow the pattern. I mean, you can see it's the line's way off of that. Delete. So this has me a little nervous. Then, if I look at the 4 hour MACD, this has me nervous because, you know, this was following right along with the RSI. You can see we had, you know, a nice stretch of green and then a nice stretch of green. Each one of those was, you know, started right with a bullish crossover, and then boom, we got our bullish crossover right here, and then green, 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 green. And, you know, then we pulled back for a week, and then we did it over again. This time, we had a fake out. And I'm worried we're going to have a series of fake outs. So yesterday we had a bullish cross. And, you know, I was hoping we'd be back off to the races and get, you know, finish this pattern back out up to the 70 or 75 on the RSI, but we switched. I mean, we had 1, 2, 3 candles that were green on the histogram here, and I mean 2 of them are microscopic, and then red. We had a bearish crossover, and then a few hours later we had a bullish crossover, and now it looks like they're headed back towards each other again to do it again. So the 4-hour is not telling a great story at all. This is ugly. So, and it's not overly bearish. It's just it's off its pattern. So to me now, when I look at this, it's a lot more of a mystery. There seems to be no momentum going all the way back, and this is only 2 days ago, but going back to August 3rd at 8 in the morning, every 4-hour candle on the histogram since then really has had no momentum at all. So very sideways. So I'm hoping we have another leg up, because we never did get to my blue line at 25,366. So it looks like our peak was 24,675 on July 30th, and we have not been back there since. So I was hoping we'd have another run up, and then, if the CPI numbers come out and they're I think they have to be a surprise to the good side at this point, because everybody is expecting much better CPI data next Wednesday. And, we know fuel went in the right direction, and that's a big piece of the puzzle, but we'll see. I think that, this run up from the last CPI data is the optimism that everybody had about this month's number. Now, it looks like people are starting to be in a holding pattern, and we gotta beat expectations, I think, in order for this bull run to continue. Otherwise, we just have a little bit of a pullback, and then I still think we can rally from there. But, instead of a 1 or 2 day pullback, we could have a 1 or 2 week pullback. We could have a 1 month pullback. All of those things start to be on the table. Eric saying, I'm buying CleanSpark at $4 all day long. Yeah, I mean, and it closed at $3.99 1 or 2 days ago. So it was up a bunch today, but still only at $4.66. So still a good deal. And yeah, CleanSpark at $4. Their number of shares outstanding is very low. That's their market cap is ridiculously low, in my opinion. So I think CleanSpark is a very good deal. I've added to my position over this run. Tom, what is your position on DraftKings? It's recovered quite well. I will tell you, JJT, that's from JJT. I am looking at the other side of that. Everything's had a nice rally. Not true, not everything. Some of these high growth stocks have had a very nice rally. DraftKings is one of 3 or 4 that I think that rally is over. And I think the reverse might happen. They might have a big pullback. I'm looking at the companies that, and DraftKings falls into this category. So for me, DraftKings is a company that has, you guys know I look at mostly small cap, high growth stocks, and obviously I fixate on Bitcoin miners. But I look at all the small cap, high growth, and a lot of EV. So I'm looking for stocks. When I see one of these companies that, it's all about liquidity. When I see one of these companies that does not have enough money to get to the finish line, even if they're not going to run out imminently, there's certain companies that look like they have 1 or 2 quarters left worth of money. Those to me are a nightmare. But, if you're looking at, and DraftKings is looking at several more years of big losses, they don't have enough money to get where they're going. Now, in other types of markets, or if we turn into a rally, that's not going to be a problem at all. But in this market, other than the last couple of weeks, this is the most risk-off market in history. So, that is not a verified fact, but I'm just telling you from my experience, I've never seen this kind of risk-off, no tolerance for risk. And the riskiest of all companies is a company that even forget the profitability. If they don't have the cash on hand to get to cash flow positive, even if that's 2 years from now or 3 years from now or 4 years from now, but DraftKings doesn't have enough cash on hand, so I'm a little bit worried. But if the market flips, then yes, they could run. But for me, I'm scared of them right now. Ryan's saying no move at all until CPI. I think that's what it's starting to look like. I mean, this is starting to look very sideways. Bitfarms will be huge in the bull market, said Billy. Yeah, I mean, Bitfarms is another one that I think it finally broke. It was under $1.50 for a month and a half. So I think yesterday it broke above that at long last. And it did have a nice run today. It was up 5% again. So, that's a good day for Bitfarms, but still at $1.62. I mean, I will tell you, I had some August options. So I did get rid of those, but I've got some longer term options, and obviously my main position I don't touch at all other than to add to it. So I think Bitfarms is still, in my opinion, that's still way underpriced. CleanSpark's held down CEO pay, microgrid shenanigans. The microgrid side of things, I feel like they went from saying that was going to be a potential, they were going to sell that business. Now it just seems like they're going to find a way to segue out of that business. And while at one point the microgrid side of this had $1 billion market cap, and now it seems to be worthless. So but again, I think that has everything to do with the risk-off environment we're in. Bruce is saying it's not good if they're always selling their coins. I'm not sure who he's talking about. Maybe Bitfarms. Bitfarms has sold a bunch of their coins, and they had a situation. They made a decision that, in retrospect, was not a good decision. Now, they had the ability to get through it. They bought a bunch of Bitcoin at the beginning of 2022. I think for $30,000 or something to that effect, whatever the case is. They had to sell it all for at least $10,000 less than they bought it for. So obviously that's the exact opposite of what they were looking for. So for that, they got punished greatly. But when I look at them from a liquidity standpoint, it looks like they're fine. So I think they have more than enough liquidity. Yeah, it's a bummer they went from 6,000 Bitcoin. They pretty much, I'm not sure what they have left. I know they sold down to 3,000, and then they might have sold another half of those. I know Core Scientific just released their info today. They've sold all their Bitcoin. So they mined 1,200 this month, and they now have 1,200 on their balance sheet, but that's the Bitcoin they mined this month. The 10,000 that they once had, they're all sold now. They sold, and I think they sold the last 1,500 or 1,600 of them this past month. So, but again, I think that is what they had to do. Obviously, nobody's looking to sell at these prices. So, if these guys are selling, it is most likely, I gotta believe it's because they have to sell, not because they're doing a risk assessment and saying, oh, at 23,000, we're taking on too much risk with Bitcoin. If they were willing to hold it at 40, 50, 60, 70, then that wouldn't make any sense. Bruce is saying I think they are growing fast, though. Yeah, I mean, Bitfarms operations are spectacular. They mined 500 Bitcoin this month. So that's going to be second place out of all Bitcoin miners publicly traded on the NASDAQ. So, which I think is 20 now. So they came in second place this month. That's impressive. And they continue to grow exahash. They're not going to get to the 8 that they talked about at the beginning of the year, but they're well over 4 and growing. So, that's what you like to see. And they're very effective and efficient. So, they're because they're a pure play, they're probably the most efficient miner. Hive factors out to be the most efficient, but they get a lot of Ethereum benefit in there. But obviously they're super efficient as well. But Bitfarms is very efficient. They're growing like crazy. They've got They've got a lot more to come. That has been one of my top 3 and oftentimes my number 1 for the last, I'm going to say, year and a half. And you can see it's down massively over that period of time. So I've done an awful lot of averaging in. Steven saying, Tom, I don't see how you can do all these videos. Thank you. Bitfarms hot, strong at the finish today. Michael Saylor is now concentrating on Bitcoin and Coinbase. BlackRock future is looking great. Steven, thanks. Yeah. Everything you just said. And I was gonna do a video and I didn't get to it. You know, the first wave of news that came out was, and I had all the headlines all lined up. You know, Michael Saylor steps down. Michael Saylor loses big bet on Bitcoin. And that was as if somehow, you know, he was being pushed out. He's the executive chairman of the board of directors. That's the highest ranking position you can have in a company. So it's his company. He's still at the wheel. They have a day-to-day operations that has nothing to do with Bitcoin. And I think he's had it. And you know, he said in an interview, he's been grooming the person that's coming in, and now the CEO. That individual was the CEO and was the president and the CFO. So they brought in a CFO, so now they have a full-time CFO, and they were able to move this other individual over to CEO, which lets Michael Saylor do what he's doing anyway, which is his mission is Bitcoin, and that has not changed at all. And MicroStrategy's position on Bitcoin has not changed at all. They will continue to add Bitcoin in any way that Michael Saylor can figure out how, and he's on a mission to educate the rest of the corporate America on the benefits of Bitcoin. So that was the opposite of what they were making it look like for the first 24 or 48 hours. But I think people are starting to realize that was really more about Michael Saylor just laser focusing on Bitcoin. And then obviously the Coinbase BlackRock thing. You know, BlackRock's a monster. So we'll see. I did a video on that and showed, you know, what their balance sheet looks like and all that. They have more assets under management than anybody else in the world, and to me it's kind of a big 180 for them. So to see them step in and line up with Coinbase and start to give access to their clients and they specifically said Bitcoin. So it's not really an all-in crypto move for them. They said they're going to start with Bitcoin. So, you know, that's very bullish in my opinion. And I think that's news that's just going to, that didn't really hit. Bitcoin didn't get any bump from that. And I think that's just going to happen slowly over time as institutions continue to buy into Bitcoin. But that is a big, big move. I mean, they have, and you know, it's their money under management. It's not their money, but they have $750 billion of cash sitting on the sidelines. So they have an awful lot of money they can still put to work. And even if they just put a little bit of that into Bitcoin, it should make a big difference. CleanSpark needs to buy cores, said Ryan. Yeah, I don't think they can afford it, though. Core Scientific is a monster, and somebody was yelling at me online about how I think, you know, how come I like Riot even though they mined less Bitcoin, but I was a little nervous about cores. And the thing is, you know, I'll answer that. I try to answer everything online, all in the comments sections. The reason is Riot got paid $9.5 million in energy credits in July. So their Bitcoin mining productivity went down a lot, but they were paid more in energy credits than they make in Bitcoin on a monthly basis. So plus they mined 318 Bitcoin. So that was a windfall for Riot. Now, obviously, as a Bitcoin miner, you don't want to do that 12 months out of the year. But if there's a couple of months where you got to kick energy back to the grid and you're going to get that kind of credit for it, I mean, that's gold. It really, I mean, mathematically, it was the best month they've ever had as a company. So, but I don't want to see them do that every month. Obviously, they're in the business of Bitcoin. And they're a hybrid. They sell some Bitcoin and hodl some Bitcoin. So it looks like typically they're about 6 months into selling between 250, 275, sometimes 300 Bitcoin a month. So, you know, if they're only going to mine 318 Bitcoin, that doesn't leave a lot left over to hodl. So, you know, that equation works perfectly. If they're mining 500 or 600 or 800 Bitcoin, they really should be mining 1,000 before the end of the year. So if they're putting 700, you know, into treasury and spending 300 to pay the bills, to me, that's the perfect equation. Because you can't go on, you know, HUT, which I like a lot, and I'm a big fan, and I hope that's a big position for me. They have continued to hodl 100% all the way through this month. So I like that. They're building up a massive, massive balance sheet, but that cannot last forever. At some point, you know, they have a lot of cash, a very strong balance sheet, but not enough cash to hodl forever. So I think what they're hoping is just to get back to a much better number at Bitcoin before they start selling. Aladdin integration is more massive beyond Jeff. That's from Jeff. Yeah, I mean, that's what BlackRock brings with them. Jeff saying every money manager investment bank uses Aladdin. So there you go. Ryan saying that made me super bullish on Riot. I assume you're talking about the 9.5 million they got. What are your thoughts on NILIF? My thoughts are I don't know that ticker. They sell more. They mined this huge issue. I'm not sure what that means. Allie, or if you could just specify what you're talking about, I'm not 100% sure what you're talking about. Oh, your average price is 13. So I'm not sure if you're talking about Core Scientific or a different company, but I mean, a lot of these guys had to sell their Bitcoin. I can absolutely guarantee you that it was not a part of Core Scientific's plan to sell 10,000 Bitcoin in May and June and July of 2022. And if it was in their plan, it was in their plan to do that at $150,000 a Bitcoin, not at $22,000 a Bitcoin. So, you know, the best laid plans, you got to get. This was looking like a crypto winner. And I think we're out of the woods. I think Bitcoin never quite got to a crypto winner. I think the rest of the crypto market did get to a crypto winter. If you look at the altcoins, other than a couple, you know, Ethereum's technically an altcoin, but I don't consider it an altcoin. It's a big enough market cap where it moves on its own. BNB is a big enough market cap where it moves on its own. But if you look at all the other altcoins, all the top 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, most of those were down near 90 or more than 90% from top to bottom. So, you know, that's full-blown crypto winner for the rest of the crypto space. Bitcoin actually held its own better. Now, it's not having as big a rally right now as some of the other ones as they come back because it didn't go down 95%. It went down, I think it went down 75% though. I mean, that was a big, big pullback in Bitcoin. So clearly a massive bear market. You can call a crypto winner whatever you want, I guess. In the past, technically, those have lasted for significantly longer periods of time. So I know I'll speak on behalf of George. He's not here. He does definitely think we're due for another big dip. Potentially revisiting our lows in the 17,000s or maybe going lower than that sometime in the next month. So that's what he's thinking. And that would not shock me. I mean, it would not shock me if we went and revisited our lows. We seem to be running out of momentum. Let me go to the 1 day, because this is another thing that concerned me a little bit. So first I want to look at the MACD, because you can see this is today, so it's not over, so we haven't confirmed this yet, but I mean, it looks like we're going to have a red candle on the histogram and potentially a bearish crossover on the daily time frame on the MACD for Bitcoin. So I definitely don't like to see that. Now, that doesn't mean that on a dime that means starting tomorrow everything's bad, but that is momentum in the wrong direction for sure. So, you know, that tells me the legs on this rally are running out for now. But if you go to the 1 week and the 1 month, in general, I think things are trending in the right direction. So I guess what I'm saying is, between the 4 hour and the 1 day, it looks to me like this run we're on, this rally we're on, is running out of steam or has run out of steam. It may still go till next Wednesday, or like a lot of you guys said, maybe it's just going to be sideways between now and then. And I guess CPI will have a lot to do with what the next leg is, right? Because this could flip right back to bullish if those numbers come in better than expected. You know, that won't be the same thing. The job numbers came in better than expected, and that was, while that should have been good news, it was bad news for the market because it gives the Fed cover to continue to raise rates. But if the CPI number comes better than expected, that will be very positive for the market, because that goes along with what I believe is going to happen by the end of the year. I think we'll be in rate cut discussions by the end of the year. I don't know that they will be cutting them yet, but that will be the conversation before this year is over by the Fed, in my opinion. Oh, Allie's saying CleanSpark. They sold more Bitcoin than they mined. They continue to sell roughly what they mine, or a little bit more than they mine, and that is their philosophy. They do not want to dilute shareholders. They did say they were going to try to use, you know, like a 3-step approach, one of which was going to be debt. And I think right now, you know, in the environment over the last 8 months, debt at a good price is not on the table. So some people are taking on debt if they have to, but I think CleanSpark, you know, they're probably not getting the same terms they were looking at, you know, back in January of this year. So, although there are some new companies that are looking to be debt-specific, collateralizing Bitcoin miners. So I was going to do a video on that as well. I may still do that. That's not an unlimited supply, but that may help some of these miners that, and I have a feeling that's backed by the Bitcoin, the ASIC machine manufacturers, because I think they're starting to run into a situation where their inventory is running up, and they've got certain deals that were made, purchase orders that were signed that people aren't following through on. So they want to find a way to get those machines out rather than stack them up in the warehouse. But the thing CleanSpark has done is twice now, they've bought on the spot market, they've bought machines, and, you know, they did not disclose the price, but they said it was a deep discount. And the last machines they bought, it was not much. It was maybe, I think it was 90 petahash maybe. But those were already plugged in and running. So apparently somebody defaulted on their machines, and CleanSpark got to pick them up for some very discounted price with no downtime. Those machines were running the second they bought them. So that's why CleanSpark had the best month. CleanSpark mined the most Bitcoin they've ever mined in a month. Bitfarms mined the most Bitcoin they've ever mined in a month. I'm not sure anybody else did. Oh, you know what? Core Scientific did have an improvement. I don't think they beat their all-time record, but they jumped back up. they had about 4 or 5 months in a row, which was what I was talking about. They had, in March, April, May, June, they almost doubled their exahash rate, and they were mining the same amount of Bitcoin. So yeah, in my course video last month, I brought that up as a concern because it doesn't make sense to me. With all that extra mining power in the same time period, the difficulty level keeps getting lower and lower and lower. Their hash rate keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're mining the same exact amount, within a few Bitcoin, the same exact amount of Bitcoin every month. So that was disturbing to me. They upped that a little. They're over 40. They're more like 42 a day now every day instead of being in the high 30s. So it's moving in the right direction. Malik is asking, Tom, what's your opinion on those saying Bitcoin will head down to around 12,000 before rallying again? So I've seen a lot of people say that. I strongly disagree with that. I don't think that's in the cards. I don't think that's going to happen. I will say this. I'll never put, from a flash crash standpoint, in other words, we could visit any number for 5 minutes. But we would quickly, in my opinion, rally back up to the 17,000 area. I do think there's a reasonable chance that we revisit our lows. I don't think we're going to, but it certainly would not surprise me at all. But I don't think, 12, I've heard 12,000, I've heard 8,000. People are still doing the old calculation. A crypto winner's 85%. So they're going 69,000 times, 0.15 is $10,500. So that is, in most cases, in most of the arguments that I've seen, that's where they're coming up with that number. But the thing is, this cycle does not even resemble the previous cycles. I mean, it started out and it looked that way, and everybody was all plan B. We're going to be at 150,000 a year ago, but none of that happened. We did not get the 15 or 20 or 30x that we've gotten in the other halvings. So because we didn't 20x, you can't expect to pull back 85% from a much, much, much lower number, right? If we had gotten a 15x and pulled back, we would have pulled back to $80,000. So that makes sense. This, 10 or 12,000 doesn't make sense to me. So that, I don't know. I don't know the future, but that's how I feel about it. Kathy Wood still believes in Bitcoin 1 million by 2030, and she's not alone. She said 2030 is her conservative number. She thinks it's going to happen even before then, as early as 2028, and there's a lot of people on that bandwagon. So I don't know about $1 million. I do think that Bitcoin is going to be multiples larger. And 2030, that's 8 years from now. So, if you do compound annual growth rate, that's not that ridiculous to think that it'll be $1 million. I hope she's right. Sometimes she's right and sometimes she's wrong. I guess that's everybody's right or wrong depending on the time frame you look at. But I think Bitcoin $1 million is on the table someday. I think Bitcoin $500,000 is on the table someday. I think sooner than later, in a 24-month window, Bitcoin $100,000 is on the table. And to me, that's why all the Bitcoin miners, in my mind, are a very big bargain and are going to have a massive, massive run up, because their profitability at Bitcoin 100,000 is what people were looking for. And, it's even after the halving, they're going to be in good shape. Particularly the ones that are gearing up massively and the ones that are more cost effective with their energy. Moon Boots says, hell yeah, Tom's here to talk investing. Moon Boots is our comic relief on the Discord. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do I own Cardano? I do not. I own very few cryptocurrencies. I really have focused on Bitcoin and the miners. I like Polygram, I like. I don't own any Ethereum even. I think we're about to go into chaos with Ethereum. I'm in the minority here, but this thing they're trying to do, I don't think it's going to go the way they think it's going to go. This thing being the merge with the beacon chain. So they're moving from proof of work on Ethereum to proof of stake. And there are an awful lot of very wealthy, very interested parties who stand to lose a lot of money in that scenario. And I'm not sure it's the right thing to do. And I have not heard a coherent argument on why proof of stake is a safer network. The opposite sounds true to me. The chances of, wealth consolidation and a smaller group of people controlling that, I think are larger by far in a proof of stake scenario. The whole proof of work, I don't know. I'm a proof of work person. To me, that's what makes the whole cryptocurrency thing make sense. You've got all these independent machines incentivized to make sure that all these transactions are correct. That's the whole point of the whole thing. So, and we have now seen several people speak out and say that there will be a fork. Some people think there's going to be multiple forks. I know that in Hive's monthly update, I think that was yesterday, they talked about, Ethereum Classic and incentivizing people to take their project over to Ethereum Classic because that's proof of work. So I think those are all the reasons, in my mind, those are the reasons this date keeps getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, because behind the scenes, and now all of a sudden that they're saying it's next month, September 19th, although that's the 20th date they've given. Now all of a sudden people are starting to get real vocal that, hey, wait a second, people have come out and said, I'm creating this fork, I'm creating that fork, I'm moving over to Ethereum Classic. So that thing is not the done deal that they want to present it as, in my opinion. So I know a lot of you will probably disagree with that. Most people have been going along as if that's 100% for, the last year and a half. But I'm not sure about that. Jeff says the BTC bears at 20K sound a lot like the bulls at 57K. Yeah, exactly. Mark is saying Saylor stepped down as CEO of MicroStrategy. I talked a little bit about that earlier. The reason that he stepped down, that is true, but he's the executive chairman of the board of directors. He's the highest ranking person at that company. He's the biggest shareholder in that company. That's his company. He no longer wants to deal with the day-to-day of, remember, their business, MicroStrategy's business, has nothing to do with Bitcoin. They have two distinct segments in their business. Their legacy big business, which continues on and requires, a full-time CEO to run. Well, he doesn't want to be that anymore. He's a Bitcoin person. So he's going to move aside. He's going to be in charge of Bitcoin. He's going to be in charge of their Bitcoin strategy. And, he's already, you can see, been on a world tour for quite some time now. So functionally speaking, I doubt very much he was participating in a lot of day-to-day CEO activities for MicroStrategy as it was. So I think this just made sense. They hired a full-time CFO, and they moved their person that was the president and CFO up to CEO, and that lets Michael Saylor do his thing. Moonboost says, your Discord community is fun, Tom, and also full of good knowledge. Yeah, you help keep it fun. I know, as long as people are nice. Every once in a while it heats up a little bit. If you guys don't know, you can join the Discord. There should be a link underneath here. We do have a lot of awesome conversations over there. So, and I was commenting a lot every day. So sometimes I'm not commenting, but I'm reading everything every day over there. And a lot of times by the time I go to say something, someone's already basically said what I was going to say, so I don't bother, and I just give them a thumbs up or one of those kind of things. But the Discord is awesome, so thank you, everybody. Anybody who happens to be on the stream right now that participates in the Discord, I appreciate that, because I do think that is a good conversation. And, you know, there's a lot of you guys are probably like me. I could talk about the miners forever. So, Bitfarms mined 19 Bitcoin yesterday. Wow. So I did not see that. That's massive. So I mean, Bitfarms, they've done everything, in my opinion, that I have wanted to see them do, other than, you know, on the financial side of things, they did make a misstep, and they bought a bunch of Bitcoin, and they had a line of credit loan against that, you know, was going to run out. They extended it for 90 days. Now they got to work their way out of it. So the stock price, in my opinion, is it's as simple as that. It's just being punished for that one financial decision. That financial decision, you know, while nobody's happy about it, it does not affect the long-term, in my opinion, it does not affect the long-term success of Bitfarms. And they're doing everything else right operationally, as far as I'm concerned. JJT says, will you do a video on how ETH is created in a proof of stake scenario? Still cannot get my head around that one. So I will do a video on that. And that goes to the conversation that I was just talking about, and why I'm not a big proof of stake fan. I like the proof of work scenario, where, and particularly with Bitcoin, you know, the fear used to be, oh, there could be a 51% attack and they could take over the network essentially. And I think the same thing holds true in proof of stake. If somebody gets 51% of the network and they start verifying transactions, that becomes the valid chain. That is the reason that Ethereum forked from Ethereum Classic to begin with. Somebody hacked Ethereum, and they wanted to undo all those transactions that had been validated, so they forked. They hard forked, and Ethereum Classic did still continue on, but what we now know of ETH is really the spin-off. Ethereum Classic is the original. It's like Coke Classic. For those of you old enough to remember New Coke, which was a debacle. And that's kind of how I feel about ETH 2.0, although they're not calling it that way anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's going to go off like clockwork and the powers that be are already all over this. But to me, it looks like a big mess, and I can't, you know, they say, well, they're going to use 99% less energy. Okay, I get that is, yes, that's good for the environment. Yes, that's good for public relations. But in the grand scheme of things, they're using a lot of clean energy. Why not just move to clean energy and keep doing what you're doing? You can see with Bitcoin, this was the perfect month for people to understand why Bitcoin helps our infrastructure, not hurts our infrastructure. Texas relied heavily on all the extra power that these Bitcoin miners have been building in the state of Texas. They supported the grid this month. So they would have had power outages if not for that. And that's the whole concept. This is a big customer with a demand for energy, so that the energy that gets wasted, or where there's areas where there's just not enough demand, this adds that demand and it allows to build out the infrastructure. So I don't have to sell that to you guys. You guys know the drill, but that story gets lost in a haze of ESG. And you know, BlackRock spent their whole annual letter talking about, well, half of it anyway, about ESG. And that is one of the main reasons Bitcoin, in my opinion, went into the spiral it went. That really fueled the flames. A few other people, high-profile people and that kind of stuff. But, you know, that was the narrative. All of a sudden, for month after month, it was all ESG, ESG. Well, I think people are starting to realize the Bitcoin miners do use a lot of clean energy. They're also adding capacity to the grid, and you guys can look up the charts yourself. It's the amount of energy that they use, I know people will get mad at me for saying this, but it's a rounding error. We waste much, much more energy, gets wasted and not used at all than all of the Bitcoin and Ethereum miners put together. And that's just the reality. I mean, that's not my fact, it's a fact. So let's see. Jeff says they post daily on their Instagram. Oh, okay. You're talking about Bitfarms. Oh, that means I gotta get on Instagram. This social media stuff is exhausting. I just started, so you can look for me on Twitter. I just started to go over to Twitter, and I have nobody even knows I'm there. Miguel, if you're still on here, I know Miguel found me over on Twitter, and I think that's about it. But I'll go over, if they're reporting on Instagram daily, I love that. I'll check that out. That's great. AMC went crazy. I know. I have made, well, that's not true. I made one, at the very beginning, as a percentage wise, I made the best trade I've ever made, and I vowed to just stay out of AMC. That was well over a year ago. I know a lot of people have made a lot of money and lost a lot of money on those trades over the course of time. I have no read on that situation. I don't have my pulse on what's going on with AMC. At the very beginning, there was some options they were giving away. I bought them. It happened to be like when that just took off. I got an 1,800% return in like 3 hours. Got out of them. Maybe 5 minutes after I got out of them, they stopped trading that. They halted trading. And, that was one of the, but I know a lot of people that have stories even better than that. And it's not like I put, massive money in there. But I turned a couple $100 into a couple $1,000, and that's a great trade. Gordon is saying, proof of work causes companies to seek out and find alternative energy. The public sees how they do it and follows suit. Good. If one type of business can do it, many more can. Yeah. That's exactly right, Gordon. I agree with that. And I think people are going to come around to that notion. And I think the massive ESG FUD that plagued Bitcoin for the first half of this year is dissipating a little bit, I think. Tesla just announced a 3-to-1 stock split. Oh, share my socials on the description in the video. That's a good idea. I'm on, I don't know what I'm on. I was on, what's that thing? TikTok for like 3 videos, but I couldn't deal with that. But I don't know. I don't understand why, I don't know. Why do we need 7 different social medias? But I guess that's the deal. I'm sounding like an old person now, so I'll catch up with the times and get on the rest of the social media. I like Twitter. I know everybody loves to hate Twitter, but I actually like Twitter. I do recognize a lot of people on there, and I follow a bunch of people in the industry, so I like that. That's nice. So maybe I just need to learn how to use the other ones, and maybe they have some of the same benefits. Oh, Jacob says that you interact with my stuff on Twitter. Well, thank you. I will get more active on Twitter. I have, I just got to be more diligent about it. Obviously, like all of you guys, I have 1,000 thoughts pop into my head all day, and any one of those is something, you could put out on Twitter. I just forget to do it, and I get so bogged down. It's not bogged down. That's not the right word. I enjoy the research, but I spend so much time reading financials and 10Ks and 10Qs and all that other, and press releases. Elliot said, sorry, I'm sure that's a completely incorrect pronunciation. What would be your choice? What are my options? Oh, let me see. I think I got to go back in the line. I I know it's not rational, but you got to pick one. If you have only put all your cash only in one stock, which one would you choose? Oh, you know I don't want to answer that question. I specifically, in fact, I just commented on somebody's comment on one of my videos just before this stream that the reason I own, they were saying Hut 8 does this and CleanSpark does that. And I'm like, you know what? That's why I own both of them. They have the exact opposite philosophy on hodling. And it to me, it goes to show, first of all, it allows me to diversify my options. But in addition to that, there's more than one way to win at this game. So I like both of their strategies. They have taken different strategies, and I think Hut and CleanSpark are going to be two of the winners. Those are two of my favorites. If I had to pick just one, man, I couldn't do it. I can't do it. I can pick 5. That's as low as I can go. I'll think about it. And it changes. The thing is, that does change a lot, because I will tell you, if you had asked me that a month ago, I would have said Riot, because it just felt like Riot was ready to go off. I didn't, Riot and Marathon and Core Scientific had massive run over the last month. I averaged into Riot. I stayed out of the other two. So I caught the run on Riot. I did not catch Marathon, had an even bigger run up. That run up mystifies me. I understand that they have a lot of machines, but they have literally, their mining pool's been turned off for 2 months. So they may end up the winner at the end of the day, but I don't know why their stock is running up now, because they have done not one thing to instill confidence that they're going to get onto plan. Every single month it keeps getting worse, their performance. So, and I'm not trying to slam Marathon, and if you own Marathon, it's probably going to be $100 stock sooner than later, but for me, I'd rather invest in a company that, in their monthly updates, they're hitting their target every month, and they're telling me what they're going to do, and then they're doing what they said they were going to do, and I get a much more comfortable feeling from a company like that than one that has grandiose. I mean, we went through all of these, and I can name them off. TeraWolf and Cypher and Argo Blockchain. Even CleanSpark came out. Oh, we're going to be at 20 exahash. It's like, I don't want to hear about 20 exahash. When you're at 1.5 exahash, don't start talking to me about 20 exahash. Tell me how you're going to get to 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5. And there's some companies that are clockwork. And Riot's been saying, they were saying 12.8. That has now changed to 12.5. But so, okay, over the course of 15 months, they've changed their target by 0.3. And they're pretty much on target. And I feel the same way about Bitfarm. CleanSpark has consistently increased their exahash. So those are the companies that, to me, to answer if I could pick one stock, it's probably one of the ones I'm talking about right now, because those are the companies that are doing what they said they're going to do. A company with a strong balance sheet, a company that's showing performance. It looks to me, the biggest thing, I'll tell you when I'll be able to better answer that question. We're going to get everybody's financial statements over the next 2 weeks. I think other than Hive, which runs on a different cycle, we're going to get most of these financial statements. I want to see an update of what the direct cost is minus depreciation. What's the real cost of each one of these companies for mining a Bitcoin? Because it has been all over the place. Their financial statements, I don't know what's going on. The numbers don't make any sense, and you guys can look at them for yourself. When you look at the financial statements, they say, well, our cost for electric is $7,000 a Bitcoin, but their direct costs, not including depreciation, are $15,000 or $20,000. Well, what's the difference? What's the rest of it? Because I know electric's their main cost. It can't be that they have triple the cost, direct cash costs in that, not including depreciation. So I would like to see another quarterly financial in a row and start to compare these month over month, because there's not a long history to compare these over, because the market's changed so drastically, and things are changing so quickly. The information becomes obsolete so fast. But I will take a very close look at these financials coming out, and I will tell you, it's going to be the company that managed their direct costs, the company that managed their overhead, their cash overhead. I am in the minority. I don't mind stock incentives. I don't mind stock incentives to officers, to employees. If we succeed, they succeed, I'm fine with that. I'm looking at cash. Are you managing your cash costs, both your direct costs and your overhead costs? And if you're doing both of those things, obviously the price of Bitcoin's outside of your control. So that is going to be what it's going to be. And I believe that's going to go up over time. So if you're bullish, then you think that problem will fix itself. But the other ones, they're managing that problem. So that's what I'm looking for. And I will tell you, the last quarterly statement, Bitfarms had one of the cheapest direct costs per Bitcoin out of all the Bitcoin miners. So I like them also for that reason. There was a massive spike in Hive's energy cost for whatever reason, and they did mention that they did have a spike. So we'll see. I'd like to see their next financial statements and see if that irons itself out and goes back to where it was, or if that's the new norm for them. Oh no, Billy Lyons called me a boomer. I am not, just for the record, I am not a boomer. I grew up calling people boomers. You guys can't call me a boomer. I'm not a boomer. I literally, technically, I do not fall under the definition of a boomer. I'm that other thing, whatever they call it. I guess, what's next? Generation X? That's what I am. So, it's not the first time I've been called a boomer, though. All right. Marathon has no home. I'd rather be with Riot, whom owns their own house. That's another great point, and that's from Gordon. I mean, none of the infrastructure is theirs, and that's the approach they've taken. So, okay, we'll see how it plays out, but we don't know how it plays out because they're at 0.3 exahash right now. They were supposed to be at 13. They're at less than 1. So if they prove that works out over time, but they may have. I gotta believe, and I should dig into it. What are their long-term energy contracts? What control do they have over that? Victor saying super bullish on Bitfarms. They are 99% clean and hydro-powered. Do you think clean mining will be increasingly important in the months and years to come? I mean, I think it certainly doesn't hurt. The cleaner, the better. That is something, I don't know where all this ESG is going, and I've said several times before, it's not really ESG, it's E. And it's not even really the environment in the E. The E is energy in reality. So if we're being honest about it. And so it can't hurt to be, Bitfarms, up until the next project they're about to go into, they're all hydro. Hive is all hydro. So, and there's a lot of other companies that are using other forms of very green energy. One of them's using nuclear. Stronghold has a different thing they do that's cleaning the environment. In and of itself, just the act of what they're doing is cleaning the environment. So, Jury, hey, how you doing? He said, hi, Tom. What a nice week. Coinbase makes my day. Yeah, I did not get any of the run up. I was not in Coinbase, but that was big news. Now Billy Lyons is saying JK. No, you were calling me a boomer. That's okay. You're not the first one. I've been called that many times, which there's a lot worse things I could be called than that, I suppose. I buy more Coinbase. They will take off soon, said Jury. Yeah, I mean, Coinbase got to the point where they're... And now, this is the conundrum. I've had so many on my watch list, and there's so many stocks that were down 60, 70, 80, 90, some down 95%. So many of those are going to recover, but I can't buy them all. So I got to pick and choose, and Coinbase has been on my list. You know, they were on the list. I didn't get to them. So they had a nice run up, and it might not be over. They're still nowhere near where they IPO'd. Let's just look at Coinbase real quick. Yeah, I mean, they're at $93. I could kick myself. They were at $40, and that wasn't a long time ago. That was like a month and a half ago. I mean, this is a 1 month chart. Here they are at $53. Here they are 2 weeks ago at $53. So, yeah, I hate to miss that 53 to 93 run. That's tough. For me, and this might be because you can see their 52-week high is 368. So this might be, you know, this 50 to 90 might be on the way to 200. So, but I hate jumping it. I hate chasing. So sometimes if I miss them, I miss them. You know, I try to put the amount of money to work. And so, you know, sometimes something pops that you didn't get to pick. But other things have popped. I mean, I made a massive switch to Riot, and let's go look at them, because that has been a very good trade for me, because I had gotten 100% out of Riot. I didn't like where they were going, and obviously everything went down so much, but I was out of Riot, so I didn't start buying in it. My cost basis was, you know, very low. So, like, they're up 107% from exactly 1 month. From July 5th to August 5th, they're up 107%. So I caught all of that because I bought almost all my Riot in, I'm going to say, like, this period of time right here. So that's one I got in right. And trust me, that's not all of them, because I can show you some other stocks where, you know, they got to pull a quadruple just for me to get back to zero. So, you know, you win some, you lose some, but Riot I happen to play the right way, so that helped overall. A bunch of things I did not sell, but I stopped buying. So, you know, those went down a lot because I couldn't dollar cost average into everything. I had to, my philosophy, I think this is a common philosophy. You try to, when things get really ugly, you try to pick your absolute highest conviction plays. So I really did consolidate to a lot less. I was in, at one point, I think I was in 10 or 11 miners, and I got that down to 5. Victor says, please give us an insight on BTBT. What are your thoughts? So I'll give you a little bit of that right now, and it's something I wouldn't mind doing a video on. I have done a video on them, on their monthly updates, a couple of times. Bit Digital, stock ticker BTBT is Bit Digital. They have had, the last year has been just a nightmare for them. And that's another one I happened to catch a great trade on. Let me pull that one up because this one's crazy. I'm going to go to the 1 week. Got random marks all over this one, but this ran, I mean, here we are at $3.70. That was on July 19th of 2021. By August 9th, so let's say that's 3 weeks later, they're at $20. So I did not catch 100% of that run. I think this mark right here is where I got out. So, but still, I think I pulled at least a double. Actually, I think I got out more like 10 or 11 or 12, but I was nowhere near up to 20. But after this run, then what happened was, you know, this was the peak, and then all the machines had to get turned off in China. Already there was a lot of doubt swirling around this company. There had been a short report that's quite literally said the entire executive team was a bunch of criminals and they were on the run and they were all going to be in jail, and all their machines were fake and they're not even a real company. So you can look up that short report if you don't like my paraphrase of it, but that's pretty much what it said. So over the last year, I'm starting to wonder, they were at 2.6 exahash allegedly. Maybe it was 2.3, 2.6 exahash. And, they went all the way down to 0.3 exahash. And they're just now getting back to 1 exahash. They bought a bunch of new machines. So they got some of the 19s and 10,000 of them, I think. So we know those are real. Those have started to get delivered and getting plugged in. So to me, that's a company that's starting to get back on the right track. And I mean, you can see they've been sold, and they never made any sense at $20, but they also probably don't make any sense at $1.50 either. So there are ones I have much higher level of conviction in. This is not one of my 5 that I hold, but I was very encouraged with their last update. And the 7 or 8 months before that, I was discouraged. So to me, they're trending in the right direction. I like what they're doing, but I'm not ready to. I'm still in the mode where, I don't know that we're out of the woods yet here. And so I'm just sticking to my highest conviction plays right now. And this is one of them. So Hut's one of my plays. Bitfarms is one of my plays. CleanSpark, you guys know. So Shaman says, I agree with Victor on Bitfarms. I feel like everybody likes Bitfarms, but somehow somebody's doing something because the price does not move. And for the longest time, I'm going to go to that one because, this line, this is on the weekly, so you really don't get a feel. Let me go to the daily. This line at $1.50, this whole entire time from June 13th, it looks like it popped over this, but it did not once, not for one day, did it close over $1.50 until August 3rd. 3 times I think it closed at $1.50. So there was like a sell wall at $1.50 that was like unbreakable. So I'm very encouraged to see that jump. You can see now it looks like it's creating some support here at $1.50. So, I think it's ready for the next leg up. And to me, I've been saying from $1.50 to $2, there's not much resistance there. So that's the move I'm looking for, but we'll see. Would you mind telling us what your CleanSpark average is? I got to do a spreadsheet because I have a bunch of different accounts. So I know there's a CleanSpark account where my average is not good. I'm going to say $16, $16, $18. But then I started buying it in a different account, and my average there is like $4.50. But I bet, and now I'm going to guess, but I bet if I added it all up together, I'm still at least at $10 average cost on CleanSpark. So I got a long way to go to get back to zero. Jury saying I'm in the camp that thinks Bit Digital, never mind Bitcoin in China. It's getting easier and easier to believe that based on what's happened in the 15 months since then. So I can't disagree with that. Long-term Coinbase are going towards zero, says Shaman. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Binance offers free trading, and many people are fleeing Coinbase. They are too expensive. Even taking money out is a stinger. So, well, that's an interesting perspective. I know that Binance, I'm in the U.S., and I know that gets treated differently here. They actually have Binance USA because they won't even allow the regular Binance to operate here, essentially, although obviously there's very easy ways around that. I do not endorse that or participate in that, but obviously there are ways to do that. And Coinbase is the biggest I'm sorry, Binance they're the biggest by far. Coinbase is the biggest in the United States, but Binance is multiples bigger. So I know they move the market. Hello from the Philippines. Hello, Brooke. Welcome from the Philippines. Glad you're here. I'm selling calls against my Riot, MicroStrategy, and Marathon stock holdings. Volatility is my friend. Well, I can say congratulations to you and to all the people over the last 6 to 9 months that have been selling calls. Have effectively, you got to count that as reducing your cost basis. That's all money you're making back. So, a lot of times you say, well, I'm so upside down in my cost basis. But if you've been selling calls for 6 months, you might be closer than you think. So that was a good decision. Good job. Let's see. Sorry, This is why it's so frustrating. Holding CleanSpark, everything else is taking off, and it has a much lower float. I guess one day it will be our turn, and that is the critical thing. That was Biz 101 just said that. I wait. Because it is, you see Marathon go up 150%, and you're like, wow, man, they unplugged all their machines and they're up 150%. But if you watch, you'll see, and I encourage you to watch my monthly update where I go through and show what everybody did over the course of the month, because I find that very helpful. There's some, Marathon was up 150%, so I'm not going to start investing in Marathon, but CleanSpark was up in July. They were up 2% for the month. So I started investing more in CleanSpark, and no, they haven't hit yet, but in my opinion, they are going to. So there's a rotation, and if you keep too many people chase that rotation, and so they're always in the wrong stock. And then they go, oh, man, every time I sell a stock, it pops. Well, exactly, because you didn't hold on and wait for it. So my philosophy is to hold on and wait. That's what I do. We'll see. There's a lot of room to the upside, obviously, in the vast majority of these. Even Riot and Marathon, which are up drastically, they're still nowhere in the neighborhood of their 52-week high. So there's a lot of room left to the upside. These market caps are still tiny if Bitcoin does what we think it's going to do and what we hope it's going to do in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So let's see. Been here 4 months. It's an eye-opener. This is Brooke in the Philippines. Friendly English-speaking people and still very affordable. Well, I hope you are enjoying life in the Philippines. It sounds like you're new there. There's a bunch of people where I am that go back and forth from there. I'm in Florida. Let's see. Somebody else said, lived there 2 years. Can't wait to get back. WLG is saying, today was brutal for the optimistic Tesla call option trader, i.e. me. I watched my 500% 2-week gains evaporate. Ouch. Here's hoping the split happens real quick. Yeah, I mean, that's one of those other things, especially on options trades, and it depends what your time frame was. I try to take profits as I go along, and yeah, I leave a lot of money on the table that way, but that drives me crazy. If I have one that I was up 280% or 440%, I do not want to see that go back to zero. And, so I try to scale back on my position as I go. And then I usually like to get all my original money back, before it's 3x'd. And then if I can do that again, then I'll let the rest ride, whatever it is. Because now I've already doubled. I've taken out a double on that. And, I can take a risk on the rest of that money. So that's my own little personal strategy when you get the opportunity. Double AO1 is saying, is Voyager stock worth the risk? I'll tell you this, it's volatile beyond belief. So, I mean, I am not a day trader, So I have never done well trying to buy and sell in the course of a day, and that's what's going on right now with Voyager. I don't know what their long-term prospects are. I'm not in Voyager. I hope everybody gets their money back, that had money in Voyager. But for the stock, I'm not going to day trade the stock. I'm staying away from that. I think the risk reward is not worth it, in my opinion, on that one at all. Alex is saying, good rule, take your profits unless you have a crystal ball. That's exactly right, because, man, there are times I'm 100% sure something's going to happen, and I'm 100% wrong. So it's hard to take profits, because especially if you really believe, oh, man, this is just getting rolling. But that's just a part of being disciplined, and the longer you do this, the easier it is to get in the habit of doing that. So you're right. That's exactly. Nobody has a crystal ball, and sometimes you just got to wait it out. But with options, you can't wait it out. You got to take your profits while you got them, because they expire. So let me just pull up. I want the 200-week moving average on that. Oh, well, I'm going to pull up something different, actually. I was going to do one thing. Now I'm going to do another. Get rid of all my lines. This is another thing that has me a little bit nervous. So this is the 200-week moving average. You guys have probably all seen this talked about a lot. This has never happened. So we just spent well over a month, other than a few days here where we popped over it. This was, let's see, June 13th to July 19th. We were significantly under at several points the 200-week moving average. That has never happened before in the history of Bitcoin. If you look at the two other times we went below the 200-week moving average, and there's only been two other times. There have been a couple of other times where we bounced off of that as a line of support. There's been twice where we've gone below it, and we were back above it in a heartbeat. And, so it was measured in days, not weeks or months. This run, we finally got back above it, and here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 red candles in a row. Yesterday, we opened and closed below the 200-week moving average. Now, it looks like today, maybe we're going to get to close above it, but this is another one of those indicators. See how this is so wishy-washy and so neutral, whereas I was so confident back here in the run-up. I just have a lot less confidence when we're just hanging around, some days above, some days below the 200-week moving average. All of these indicators are just kind of just hanging out. The daily RSI, we bounced off of 50 and we're up a little, but this is just 1 day worth of move. We've gone under 50. I don't love, this. If I put my lines back, I think I got some trend lines there. So, that's my trend line, but we keep slipping a little bit lower and lower versus this trend line. We still have not gone below this line of support that I have. But again, it's all getting a lot more neutral in my opinion versus the bullish that it was. So it doesn't mean the run's over, but I'm much less confident today than I was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and a month ago. So, and this is something I keep my eye on big time, because if this drops below and we start crashing down from here, that's the scenario where I think we could go retest 17,500. But we even just flashed to that. I mean, the lowest daily close we've had was at 18,600. So to some extent, that you could consider that a low. WLG, thanks, Tom. I still have a couple weeks for it to hopefully return. Yes, that's right. And with Tesla, it doesn't take a couple weeks. That thing moves like nothing I've ever seen. So, best of luck. That could definitely come back. Cameron saying, do you think CleanSpark will have a good report on Wednesday? I am looking forward to it. Hopefully a 20 to 25% increase that day. I mean, they're going to... The thing is, the revenue's not going to look good because it's just based on the price of Bitcoin. And the price of Bitcoin was not good. Sorry. So what I'm looking at with CleanSpark and with all of these, I want to see what their cost per coin was. Their direct, excluding depreciation, right? Because that's not a cash cost. What is their cash cost to mine per Bitcoin? That's the number that I'm looking at. And I'm not even looking at it anymore from a crypto winter scenario, like, oh, you know, are they breaking even? Because I think we're moving out of that. I do, you know, maybe we'll revisit our lows again, but I do think we're moving in the other direction now. But I'd like to see those nice gross profit margins. So I want to see these companies. And CleanSpark, I mean, they were an energy efficiency company. That's what they did. So I feel like they should have a better cost, average direct cost per coin than they do. So I'd like to see that number improve. That's the number one thing I will be looking at with CleanSpark. I know a lot of people will be looking at officer compensation, and I know that makes a lot of you guys crazy. I do not worry about that. It is such a small thing, and if the executives win, we win. So I know there have been instances over time where there have been executive teams that have abused that. So I'm not saying it's not a real concern. I just don't feel like CleanSpark is that team. I like those guys. I've met some of them. You know, not that that makes any difference, but I have a confidence level in the management team at CleanSpark. So I don't think they'll be abusive with that. So I'm looking to see what their direct costs were. I'm looking to see that they controlled overhead, you know, their cash overhead. So those are the things I'll be looking for in that report. The revenue, the gross profit's going to be not as good. I mean, the revenue is just going to be down, even though they mined a lot more. They mined by far more Bitcoin than they've ever mined. But unfortunately, it's at a lower price, and that's how the accounting works. The accounting rules are not done changing on all this either, I will tell you. They're different in different countries right now. The generally accepted accounting principles are, in my opinion, going to change. They've implemented something that makes no sense in my personal opinion, so we'll see. This is all still very new, so I think we'll get to a better place where these financial statements become more meaningful, because the way everything's accounted for right now, comparing financial statements is like it's like throwing darts at a board. They're all over the place, so you really got to hone in on a few key numbers, in my opinion, and those tell the story. Sorry, everybody, if you could please subscribe. If you're not yet subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. We did just get over 10,000 subscribers, so we're working on it. But I'd like to grow and get this out to more people. I think we got a lot of great conversation over here, so the more the better. And thank everybody for being on today's live stream. I appreciate it. We always have a great conversation on the live stream as well, in my opinion. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. So as far as the CleanSpark report and all the reports go, everybody's going to be coming out with their financials. That's what I'm going to be keying in on. So Cameron says, thanks, Tom. Have a great weekend. Thank you. You too. Oh, Cameron's in the UK, so thank you. Welcome from the UK. Have a good night. WLG, Core Scientific earnings on 8/11. Same thing with Core Scientific. I'd like to see what their... Core Scientific is even another step more difficult because of the fact that they have such a huge hosting service. So you've got what really should be two business segments, but what happens is they're sharing the same infrastructure, and so the direct costs get allocated in a way that I don't get to see, and I don't know, so I have to add those together, which hurts their gross profit. I don't know. From what I have seen on all of these companies that host, none of them make any money on hosting, or extremely low amounts of money. Now, with a Core Scientific, if that allows them to scale up and get their self-mining to 20 exahash or whatever the case may be, then it may be worth it for them to break even on hosting. But it just muddies the water even more when you try to look at their financial statements and their gross profit margins and that kind of stuff. So Victor's saying congrats on your channel. Love your videos. Thank you very much, Victor. Samuel says, thank you. Yes, and thank you. Billy says, thanks for everything. You're welcome. My pleasure. Where's Full Moon George, says Jury. I think today might be a full moon. Is it a full moon? I think it might be. I don't even remember what George says that means. Is that good or bad? Was the full moon good? Let's see. Shaman's saying the CleanSpark team is very shrewd and competent. They're just so overpaid that I had to jump ship to Bitfarms. So, I mean, you're not alone. A lot of people that they can't get past that and it bothers them. For me, that's not a concern. So everybody's different. But, you know, you jump ship to Bitfarm, and that's one of my high conviction plays as well. So in my mind, you know, for me, I think that's a lateral move. So I don't think he did anything wrong, but not that it's my decision. Biz101 says, thanks for doing all the research you do. You're welcome. It's my pleasure. I love this stuff, so I enjoy it. I'm glad I get the opportunity to do this, so thank you guys. JJT said, thanks, Tom. Jury said, full moon equals mostly Bitcoin goes down. Okay, so, well, if today is a full moon, which I could be making up because I really don't follow the moon, but for some reason I think that it is a full moon like today or tomorrow or something. But we did just have a bunch of red days in a row. So I will tell you, I do not trade Bitcoin on the moon cycle. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. That is not my trading strategy. So I don't even know that George does. Maybe he does. I don't know. I know he looks at it and he likes to talk about it. And he's not alone. I've seen a lot of YouTube channels that follow the moon cycle. It is a thing out there. It's not my thing. There's so many indicators that I feel like I don't need to go to the moon cycle to try to figure this out. So Sour Melon Gaming said Bitfarms broke $1.52 this week. Yeah, hooray. I know, at last, right? That was like that was a brick wall, but they broke through. So I feel like, you know, now they broke through their line of resistance, but now I'm getting a little worried that Bitcoin's running out of steam on this run. So it would be nice if there was one more week left, one more big push to the upside. Let's see how the CPI numbers come out, because that always affects everything. Eric Canis is saying, I bought shares from 5 miners. One winner is already enough profit. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. If you hold them until they win, when these go up, and they're not done going up, I mean, 150% move sounds ridiculous, but that's not unusual for a Bitcoin mining stock. So, you know, there were, I think, a total of 8 Bitcoin miners that moved up 50% or more in the month of July. So there was a lot of big movers. And to me, I'm looking at some of the ones that didn't move up, and I think there's a few good companies in there. And I will tell you, I called one of them out in one of my videos, and I did not invest because, again, I'm kind of settled on where I am right now. I was considering Iris Energy, and then that just went off. So now I feel like I'd be chasing it. So let's take a look at what Iris is doing, because that was lagging behind. Yeah, you can see, and then this is really the low back on June 23rd. So, you know, I was talking about them here, and they were up 38%, but then they did this, up 66%. I just feel like that's missing. Now they're up, you know, like 64. I just hate to miss that piece of the run. That first piece, you don't know, you know, is the run over? So I missed my window on Iris, but I do like, I think they've got good things coming, I think. Let's see. Jury, Shaman, check it out. Shaman saying, Jury, you're a very observant man. Bit Digital has been reliably disappointing. They have been reliably disappointing, but I will tell you, and I don't own them. I didn't buy them, but the last report they put out last month was the best one they've had by far in the last year and a half. I mean, it was just bad news after bad news after bad news after bad news. And Marathon's been the same way. The only good news Marathon has is they put out these press releases that they're gonna be 23.3 exahash. And then they reiterate, okay, well, now we lined up, we got our power lined up for next year, so we're gonna be 23. All their good news is about what they're gonna be. They have not had any, and I mean, when I say none, they're at almost, they haven't even released their Bitcoin mining numbers yet, unless they've done it in the last few hours. But last month, they were in the hundreds. They could be under 100 this month. I mean, they're 95% off their plan. And I know they say they're going to get back on their plan, and I'm glad for everybody that's made money on that. If you're in that, I hope it keeps running, but I got to have conviction in a company. And when they've just objectively failed every single month for like 10 months in a row. So that doesn't mean they won't succeed in the end. If by March 31st, 2023, they're at 23 exahash, then everything that happened in the middle won't make any difference at all, and they will have been a winner. I just can't stomach the ride along the way. So I'd rather be in some of these other companies that they're already performing. So that's just my opinion. Hey, Tom, do you have any thoughts on Greenbrook TMS? The stock looks like it has potential. I'm just going to have to write that one down and look at it because I don't know that stock. So I will make that note. I don't know what industry it's in. I've never seen anyone doing correlation analysis with the moon. That's the out-of-the-box thinking we need to become rich. Yeah, exactly. Well, leave it to George. George is definitely, for those of you who are new to the stream, I'm usually here streaming on Fridays with my lifelong childhood friend, George. And he definitely brings a different element to the table, and he is the most outside-of-the-box person that I know. So, but the moon is his thing. That's not my thing. Gordon saying, what do you think of mergers between miners and possibly with various energy companies? This question might already have been asked and answered. Well, no, I haven't really talked about that yet today. And I think it's inevitable. I think there's going to be some mergers and acquisitions. And I don't know exactly how that looks. It depends how Bitcoin goes, because there's some of these companies that are sitting on the brink of being out of cash. So even though I may love what their company is doing and all that, I'll point to Stronghold in specific. Like, Stronghold has a cash problem. They got a lot of assets. I love what they're doing. They're doing something no one else in the world is doing. And like, I could give you a list of reasons why I love that company. By the same token, if they run out of cash, they either need to find a way to get acquired prior to that, or it's going to be an asset sale. I mean, they don't want to run into that scenario. I'm hoping they find a way to make it through on their own. They're a cool company. So if they could get their hands on some money, it's just so hard. Right now is the hardest time to get money. I mean, their stock is down to the point where they can't really raise it through equity. They would have to dilute themselves 100% to get a meaningful amount of money. And debt is hard to come by, so, where you get the money. So I wish them the best, but I think they're an acquisition candidate. I think several of the smaller companies are potential acquisition candidates. You've got a lot of the DMG blockchains, DigiHost, those companies. I feel bad for DigiHost. Some stuff did not go their way. I did invest in them for a long time. I finally moved my DigiHost money. That's part of the Riot position that I opened. I got out of DigiHost, and I think I moved that into Riot and Hut. So I hope they succeed, but they've had some, I'll just call it bad luck. But things haven't gone exactly their way. The Sound The Sound Syndicate says, appreciate everything you do, especially the beautiful coverage of miners. CleanSpark management is top tier. However, they get a lot of flack for bonuses. They got bringing the stock from $1.80 to $40. Yeah. I mean, and that run up was a weird run up. The 40 was a part of that. You know, the pendulum has swung completely to the other end. January and February of 2021, like, it was like the Ghostbusters line. No risk is, no job is too big, no fee is too big, no risk was too big for the market. It was like, give me the riskiest company you could possibly find. Show me a company that's pre-revenue, there were companies that didn't even have prototypes of their products that were trading in the billions of dollars. And, and that is when CleanSpark actually ran up to $40. It really wasn't even off of their Bitcoin, because they had just started trading Bitcoin. They hit 40, I think, in January of 2021, and they were only 1 month into mining Bitcoin at that point. So, and that may have been a part of the speculation as well. Obviously, Bitcoin was taking off and doing its thing, but I think management's performed outstanding in that company. So, especially if they're getting paid in stock and stock options, then, if they win, I win. So I'm good. I want them to win, because I want them to want me to win. So I just look at it differently than most people, I think. I know a lot of people feel like these gigantic incentive programs are a bit excessive, especially when they're skewed more heavily towards management versus the entire, employee base. That's what I'm ultimately in favor of. If you can incentivize people at every desk to be trying to hit a home run because, they win in that circumstance, then Eric's saying ESG friendly are the safest investments, I think. I mean, right now, for sure, there's a cloud, there's an ESG cloud hanging over. It's the talk in general, but there is no industry that's been hit like the Bitcoin miners. The ESG has pummeled the Bitcoin miners. So I think we're starting to move past it, but that doesn't mean it's going to go away. It's always going to be some reasonable part of the conversation, but that's all I ask for, is that it be a reasonable part of the conversation. So I will tell you, I just read Hut 8's update. They literally, on their website, they issue the exact amount of emissions. So you can't be more transparent than that. Now, it's not zero, right? They do have carbon emissions, but that's all I ask for, is they're 100% transparent. On a monthly basis, they say what their carbon emissions are, and they have a plan to get carbon neutral by 2025. Now, they will be judged on how they do according to that plan. If they fall off of that plan and they're not following it. Also, there's a scrutiny on a lot of these carbon credits, I know, because not all carbon credits are created equal. So, it gets very complicated. So you're right. It's the safer bets at the moment are the companies that are the most green. But CleanSpark is super green. Let's see, Bitfarms up, they're about to start using some natural gas, but they're clean. Hive is clean. But I think companies like Riot, which, they're adding infrastructure, and they are partially green, and they're adding infrastructure to the grid. So I think those companies will be rewarded as well. Victor's saying, watch out for the fake miners like SOS. I had 34,000 shares and got diluted to 460 post-split, lost about 40K. Yeah, SOS was an unfortunate tale. I know, and you're right. There's a bunch of miners I just took off of my board a long time ago because they just, I don't even know what SOS is doing. They're another one where there was a period of time where people were like, I think maybe this is a fake company. So I don't know that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that was, it got to that point, and I don't know what the answer to that is. The Sound Syndicate says, couldn't agree more. You want management to have incentives. I mean, yeah, that's how I feel about it. I know some people look at it and go, why should this guy make $50 million? But it's not cash. It's not cash money. And then they should have restrictions on how quickly they can cash out of their options as well, in my opinion, so that they are incentivized to get the stock up and keep the stock up, because you also don't want, pump and dumps. So WLG, that Coinbase BlackRock deal reminds me of Kevin O'Leary keynote Bitcoin speech. Very promising. I appreciate the video you just did in regards. Oh, thank you. Yes, I did a separate video on that, so thank you, WLG. I did not think that people were going to care about that video, but that seems like that was a very hot topic. BlackRock is obviously a big deal, but I don't know. I thought somehow they find a way to stay in the background, even though I think they must own every single stock in the stock market. They own a top 5 position in everything. It's unbelievable. I mean, and it's not 100%, but the odds are extremely high. If you pick your favorite stock and go look at the top 5 stockholders, there's a very high probability that they are number 1 or 2 or 3. So they are everywhere. They got, according to their most recent balance sheet, they have $9.5 trillion in assets under management. So you can imagine they're everywhere. All right, I think I'm going to wrap it up for the week. Thank you, everybody, very much for watching the videos all week long. Thanks, everybody that participated in the live stream. And remember to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Please come over and join us in the Discord. We do have a lot of fun over there. And hopefully you guys made money. This was another green week. I'm less confident going into next week, but I'll try and stay optimistic. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. Thanks again. Cores. I'm just reading a couple last comments. Somebody's saying Rex Finance is a big CleanSpark fan. I don't know who that is. Wonder if you two could have a conversation. Gordon, great show. Thank you. All right. So thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it. Appreciate it so much. Have an awesome weekend.